I have body dysmorphia. I can't control the way I feel about myself. I am insecure about my appearance. Welcome back to another episode of Tao of Mary. This is kind of an intense topic for me to talk about and share, but I think it's a really important one, and I know that a lot of women and girls could benefit from hearing my story. So let's just get into it. I have struggled with body dysmorphia for a very, very long time. My issues with my appearance have caused me so much turmoil. They've really prevented me from being present, and I feel like I've wasted so much of my precious time and energy here on this earth just hating myself and not being present in reality because I've been living in my head focusing on flaws that other people don't even perceive or see in me. It's literally things I'm making up just to hate on myself. So let's start where it all began. When I was 5 years old, my grandmother died and she was the primary caregiver for me. And I have this clear distinction in my mind, in my life, about the time that she was alive and the time after she was alive. So when she was in my life, up until the age of 5, my life was very happy and playful and felt safe and I felt cherished. Then she died, and it was like a dark cloud just came over all of my life and all of existence and my family. I'm 26 years old right now, and only until very recently have I begun to process those deep grief emotions that have been inside of me for so many years. I didn't even realize that I was in a prolonged grief state for most of my life. And this is one of the factors that contributed to my body dysmorphia and these obsessive behaviors and the self-hatred, is because I had such intense pent up emotions inside of me that couldn't find an outlet. I would eat to cope with my emotions, and I had I have 3 older siblings, but they're all like 10 years older than me. So growing up, I was often left alone and I didn't have a lot of friends, so I had a deep sense of loneliness. My parents were either gone or working, and I would turn to food as emotional comfort to numb my loneliness and to numb my depression, essentially. As a result, I was a chubbier kid who felt very awkward, who felt like she didn't fit in, who felt like she didn't have a lot of friends. I just knew that I didn't fit in, and I carried around this sense of shame for looking differently. I also, here's another little bit of trauma. My dad also wanted a boy really badly, and I definitely felt like he didn't accept me as a girl and didn't cherish me as the little girl that I was. So he would force me to have boy haircuts and have really short hair, and he would buy boy clothes for me, and I just felt so ugly and awkward. I felt so ugly and awkward and ashamed of my appearance. So I was a little girl on the inside, and I wanted to feel like a cherished little princess, but nobody around me was affirming that about me. No one around me was affirming my inherent beauty or inherent worthiness. So I grew up feeling like something was wrong with me. And I think for a lot of us, this is where body dysmorphia starts. It's because the adults in our lives, our primary caregivers, didn't affirm our inherent worth. And when that happens to a little child, our child brains can't really comprehend that our caregivers, our parents, are not giving us the love we need. And like, our brains can't fathom that as little children. So we internalize that and we think there must be something wrong with me. So our brains just look for any way to find something we can cling on to and be like, that's the problem. That's what's wrong with me. I need to change this. And if I just change this one thing, I will be loved and I will be accepted. Because that's really what every child and every human being is just searching for and desiring. It's love. We are all craving love and acceptance. I really grew up with a sense of feeling like if I was just skinny and pretty, all of my problems would be gone. If I was just skinny and pretty, it wouldn't matter that my family was fighting constantly. It wouldn't matter that I was ignored at school or ignored at home. It wouldn't matter that I didn't have a lot of friends and that I was alone all the time and sad. I thought that if I was just skinny and pretty, people would cherish me and love me and notice me. And I carried around that notion for a very, very long time in my life. I had a really big problem with binge eating growing up. I would binge on massive amounts of food starting at the age of 5. And then I would hide the evidence. I would hide the dirty dishes or the wrappers or whatever somewhere because I would be too ashamed to like bring down the dirty dishes or show the wrappers to anyone, and I would just feel so ashamed. When I started going through puberty, that's when things got even darker. When I was like 11 years old, that's when I became really obsessed with dieting, and I always joke to people and tell them that Yahoo Answers and Cosmopolitan magazine raised me, but it's so true. Like, those were my two forms of answers growing up. I was always on Yahoo Answers asking questions about dieting. I also had two older sisters, so Cosmo magazine was around, and I would steal it and read it and take in all of those images of women that I didn't look like, and I would be like, wow, I want to look like that. How can I look like this? 11 years old is really when, like I said, things started getting dark. I really started engaging in deep self hatred and self harming behaviors. Like, I was disgusted to look in the mirror. I hated myself so much. I began very obsessive behaviors with looking in the mirror, trying on clothes, taking photos of myself, feeling very ashamed to go out. And I wouldn't go out anywhere because I would be so ashamed of my body. When I was 16, 17 years old, let's say 16 years old, this is when a turning point happened, and I actually began to lose the weight that made me feel very awkward, and I did it in a very unhealthy way. I specifically remember having the flu when I was 16, and after 2 weeks of being sick, someone told me that I looked like I had lost a lot of weight. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep this up and not eat. And I barely ate for months and months and months and lost a lot of weight. I became very underweight. It wasn't until I was around 18 or 19 years old when I fully healed my relationship with food, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of in my life is that I overcame such a horrible eating disorder and I've completely healed my relationship with food. It's crazy now, like, to look back, because when I was in that position way back when I was a kid and teenager, I never thought that I would have a healthy relationship with food. I thought that I would be struggling with this my entire life. I truly thought that I would be stuck living in this personal hell in my head for my entire life. And I just can't believe it. Like, I thank God every day and I thank myself every day that I was strong enough to get out of that way of living. Yeah, so I healed my relationship with food when I was around 18 or 19, but I hadn't healed the way I felt about my appearance and my body. I hadn't healed the deeper self esteem issues. I hadn't healed my unresolved grief, and I had so much pent up anger inside of me towards my family. And I was still experiencing so much inner turmoil, even though I could finally eat normally. Once I learned to have a normal relationship with food, the binge eating stopped, the cycles of restriction basically stopped, and I kind of leveled out at a normal body weight. Sure, there were some fluctuations, but it kind of leveled out, and I began to feel more attractive. That was when When I was 18 or 19, that was when I first began getting attention from the opposite sex. And that validation felt really good to me because I hadn't received it at all in my life, whether it was from boys or from my family or from whoever. I had just never gotten validation for my appearance growing up. Um, so I kind of became addicted to that validation and presenting myself in a sexually attractive manner. I just started, I was so hyper fixated on my appearance, and I was getting fulfilled. I was getting that fix of validation from other people, but I wasn't giving it to myself on the inside. So even though I might have been getting it from men sometimes, I was still feeling so shitty about myself on the inside. And I would have bouts of feeling so ugly. Like I would fall into these really, really bad depressions, and I would take pictures of myself constantly for hours and hours and like zoom in on made up flaws. Once I realized that I wasn't fat, I had like finally accepted the fact, okay, I'm not fat. I don't have to worry about my weight anymore. The obsession with my flaws just transferred to something else. Then I started being really obsessed with my face and thinking that there was something really wrong with my face. I really wanted plastic surgery on my face for a while and was like really close to setting up a surgery. Then I was focused on my hairline. Then I was focused on, it just kept transferring, right? And all of these control type behaviors that body dysmorphia does, that body dysmorphia perpetuates, it's really giving you, trying to give you the illusion of control, that you have some sense of control and that there is a means to an end to this problem that's essentially a made up problem. It's an illusion. Because the truth is, you are perfect just as you are, and you don't need to change. And there's no sense of urgency to change anything. And I wish for every girl and every woman to feel so divinely beautiful and to grow up being told that she's beautiful. A lot of this onus is on our families to tell us that we're beautiful, but it's also like not in the media's or society's best interest to have us as individuals believing that we're inherently beautiful. If everyone just believed that about themselves, we wouldn't be spending money on body alterations and makeup and hair and clothes, and we wouldn't care about that stuff as much. If you are someone that is struggling with body dysmorphia, know that it's a cover up for deeper issues, and it's something that needs to be explored more deeply. I went through years and years of therapy where I spent a lot of money, and no therapist could help me get to the place that I achieved through self-exploration on my own. No therapist actually like got to the root of my issues. The therapists were always trying to help me modify my behaviors in the moment as opposed to focusing on like the deeper level of my issues. So you might be wondering, if therapy didn't help you, like what did help you? Like up until recently, up until maybe like a year ago, a few months ago, I was still getting like some bad bouts of body dysmorphia and depression associated with my body dysmorphia because I just felt so powerless. I felt like I had no control over those bouts of depression and around those behaviors. You really need to cultivate a sense of awareness of what's going on inside of yourself. And first of all, know that those thoughts that you're getting about yourself, those self hatred thoughts, those fixations on your appearance, that is just a story that your mind is telling you. Somewhere along the way, you learned this story and your mind is telling it to you. And just because your mind is telling you this story doesn't mean you have to listen or believe it. None of those behaviors, none of those body checking behaviors, looking in the mirror, hyper fixating on your flaws, looking at photos of yourself, that is not going to do anything. It's actually not going to do anything. It's just perpetuating the false illusion of control, so it feels like you're doing something about the situation. that is where like those behaviors are such a waste of our time and energy, but it's so easy to get wrapped up in those control type behaviors that this body dysmorphia makes us engage in. And something that I still struggled with was, even though I knew that those words weren't true, even though I knew the story wasn't true, I couldn't change the way I felt about myself. Like no amount of positive affirmations about I love myself, I love my body, I'm beautiful just the way I am. None of that worked because I just didn't believe it, right? I just didn't believe that I was beautiful and I didn't feel it. Maybe I knew it like objectively. I could be like, okay, I have certain features that are um objectively attractive, but that doesn't matter. You could be the most beautiful person in the world and still feel so ugly. Your mind is telling you that your physical form is ugly because you're projecting it out onto your body, onto your physical form, because you can't take the harsh truth of how you feel about your essence and your spirit. It is a form of self rejection. The rejection of your physical form is a form of self rejection of your essence and of your spirit, because your body is just where your essence and where your spirit lives. And that is so, so perfect. And everything about you is so, so perfect. Something that just like clicked inside of me recently was I can't control this about myself. And I totally just like, I just admitted that to myself. I just told myself, I have body dysmorphia. I can't control the way I feel about myself. I am insecure about my appearance. And I just owned the fact that I am insecure about my appearance. And you know what happened when I did that? I felt like such a huge relief because I could finally stop wasting energy trying to convince myself that I was okay with my appearance. And I could redirect that energy somewhere else. And I started to feel like, okay, I'm insecure about my appearance. So what? I'm still going to do this thing. I'm still going to be in this photo. I'm still going to, um, show up on camera today. I'm not going to let it stop me. I stopped pretending that it wasn't such a huge force in my life, and stopped trying to figure out how can I control this and how can I get rid of it and push it away. It's like, no, it's clearly a force and a presence in my life. If it wants to be there, sure, but I'm not going to feed into its energy. I'm going to put my energy somewhere else. And that has really helped me so much. It's such an empowering thing to be like, yeah, I've got this issue, but so what? The first step to healing something is admitting it, is admitting that you have it, is admitting that it's there, is admitting that it's something you can't control. Because if you could control it, it wouldn't be in your life right now. I do think that coming into your beauty and essence as a woman and accepting it does come with age and maturity. And I have gotten older, you know. Once I hit 25, that frontal lobe developed and everything changed. I got to a point where I just got tired of hating myself. Hating yourself is so tiring. Carrying around all of this negative energy to yourself gets old. And it just felt like I had no choice. Like, my only option was to heal. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to heal. I don't care how difficult it is. I need to fix something about this. Like, I don't want to just like fix the behaviors. I want to fix how I feel on a deeper level so I can cultivate real inner peace, because body dysmorphia was robbing me of my inner peace for my entire life. Literally my entire life was ruled by body dysmorphia. Know that if you're struggling with body dysmorphia, it's a real blockage in your life. It's blocking you from receiving goodness. It's blocking you from receiving good things and having inner peace and being genuinely happy and reaching those deep levels of joy and fulfillment that you deserve. I thought that these struggles were things that I would never ever get over in my entire life, and it's such a huge deal to me that I have overcome these issues and I healed these wounds and these parts of myself. Whatever comes up, I'm committed 100% to myself. And I think that's the most important step in healing. Like that's what will guide you, is your intent, It doesn't matter how hard things get in your life. If you have an intention to heal, you are going to heal at some point. It's just come home to that intention. That's where you can cultivate that trust and that faith that you will get to where you need to be. So I want you to set a really strong intention. If you're struggling with body dysmorphia and your thoughts and bad thoughts towards yourself, I want you to take some time to write down, journal, and think about the intention you want to set around your healing. I would love to share my intention making process with you because I do set intentions regularly throughout my life. I have like smaller intentions that govern my weeks or my months, and then I have larger healing intentions, and it's a very beautiful, inspiring process to do. Stay committed to yourself. The longest relationship you will ever have is with yourself. So you are number one in your life. Prioritize your happiness, prioritize your joy, prioritize your peace, prioritize your health. And please be a friend to yourself. Treat yourself as a friend. Would you be thinking these awful, heinous thoughts towards someone you love very deeply? No, you wouldn't. You would never even fathom to think that about your friends or your sister or your mom, right? You deserve love. You deserve love from yourself, and you can't accept love fully from anybody else unless you can accept love from yourself. First, learn to give love to yourself and accept that love from yourself, okay? Thank you so much for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comments. I'd love to know your experiences. I want my channel to be a safe place for you to come and to get inspired to heal. I'm so excited to keep sharing my healing journey with you. And until next time, bye.